You chose the perfect moment, just as I started filming. I'd like to believe that I'm fairly consistent when it comes to beliefs, behavior, and relationships, but sometimes when I look at the way that I process and do certain things, it kind of doesn't really make sense. I mean, I guess it does if you dig deep enough, which I love to do, but on the surface, it just kind of looks self-contradictory. For instance, when I was in school, I did all my homework. All my homework. I studied till 4 a.m. sometimes. I slept for 2-3 hours per night, and I was a zombie by Friday. I fell asleep in class on a number of occasions, which my teachers of course thought was a sign of laziness and not paying attention, but in actuality it was because I had studied so much that I had no time left for sleep, and my body simply collapsed in class. I completely fucked up my eyesight and my spine in the process, and one would think that someone with such admirable working ethics would properly study for an exam. But guess how I actually studied for exams? The night before. Always the night before. I always pulled an all-nighter, went in, took the exam, then went to sleep. I would not recommend actually doing that, but it pretty much worked for me every time. I never failed an exam. Well, I did at university once, but there was a different reason for that. But in like middle school, high school, I had never failed an exam. I never even did poorly at an exam. I actually got an A+ at an exam in geometry once, and I fucking hate math with a burning passion. And I think the reason for this seeming contradiction is that I did all my homework purely out of fear of punishment for getting a bad grade. Not doing homework was unfathomable to me because I knew that if I got a bad grade, my parents would fuck me up. And I was so terrified of them that it never occurred to me to do what I wanted rather than what was expected of me. But when it came to exams, it was a marathon for a single grade. So if I had like a week to prepare for an exam, I would just not do anything for a week because there were no intermediate grades to demonstrate my slacking. So I happily procrastinated till the last 24 hours, at which point I would cram everything into my head on the last night, go take the exam, get that grade, and then happily forget everything that I just learned. Because that's what school is all about. I am, for lack of better phrasing, a temporary hoarder. I hoard anything that has any emotional value to it, and a lot of it is just outright garbage, like movie ticket stubs, packaging of things that I just bought, boxes, envelopes, receipts from stores, anything that I feel I might need or anything that I am in any way attached to stays. But after some time passes, and the thing is no longer emotionally relevant, I throw it away without blinking. I actually feel like this is a pretty good system because it allows me to hold on to things that I'm emotionally attached to, but not actually go into full-on hoarding. But it still kind of makes no sense sometimes that I keep these things with complete certainty of their importance, only to throw them away mercilessly like 2 months later. Alright, let's see. So this is my table of random crap. When I don't want to throw something away, I just put it on my table. So let's see what I have here right now. Flyers from a movie theater. Something fell, that's fine, that happens a lot. I don't even know what this cloth is doing here, but it lives here now. A broken watch. Yeah, this broke recently, and I mean, it's a really cheap watch, so it would be more expensive to fix it than to just buy a new one. But I like it, and I don't want to throw it away, so it lives here now. Um, Snowflakes from my previous video. This is food. I hope I remember to eat this before, some other life form does. Movie ticket stubs. There's a bunch more down there. I do this. I don't throw packaging away. I just keep it. Okay, I'm throwing it away. It's in the trash bin now. Okay, this is paint. My mother brought this from work. It's dry and no one wants it, so she brought it home. She was like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, "Sure." I'll put it on my table. Oh god. I don't even know what half of this shit is. These are sedatives. Oh my god. This is like Japanese grammar, but from like 2 years ago. I haven't used Romaji in like 2 years. This is getting thrown away. This video is going well. I'm throwing stuff out. This is the eviscerated pillow from my previous video. I didn't kill a good pillow, by the way. It's just an old, retired pillow. But I'm still not throwing it out. Because I'm like, I can do something with this. There's so much stuffing. I could use it for something. So it stays for an indefinite amount of time. I think there's essentially 2 reasons to why I hoard stuff in the first place. One is just that I've been poor pretty much my whole life. And I have this sort of mentality of keep stuff in case you need it. Like a box. What if I need a box someday? I can't afford to buy a box. But if I keep this box, then when I need one, I already have a box. But another thing is, there's essentially no recycling here, so when it comes to garbage and stuff, it just irks me to throw stuff away and know that it goes to a garbage dump somewhere. I think if recycling was readily available, I would throw stuff away more easily. But there's like 2 or 3 spots in the city where you can recycle paper. They're both really far away, so it's not something I can do very easily. But on a couple of occasions I have hoarded enough paper to go to that place and just put it in recycling. And also sometimes when I go to IKEA, well, not actual IKEA, but like the mall that has IKEA in it, I take garbage with me to put in their recycle bins, because IKEA actually recycles. So, I think that I hoard this stuff just in hopes that someday there'll be a more readily available recycling option. Someday. I won't live that long. Another school-related contradiction is that I pretty much always followed the rules. I didn't wear forbidden clothing or dye my hair or anything of the sort, and yet I talked back to teachers. A lot. Not right away, mind you. As I've mentioned before, I had a bit of an epiphany around age 13, after which my behavior changed drastically, but once I went through that change, I started challenging teachers, telling them when they were wrong, and just outright talking back when they tried to condescend to me. Actually. And I think the reason for this contradiction is that I didn't really see a point in breaking rules just for the sake of breaking rules. Like, I didn't want to be a vandal or break dress code just 'cause, or heavens forbid, skip a class. Oh goodness gracious, never done that. Well, I did at university, but there was a reason for that. But when a teacher was wrong or mean, I felt like I should call it out. And actually, I should mention that I did break the dress code once. When it was really, really hot, I wore a sleeveless shirt, and I did get in trouble for that. And I said, I'll wear what you want me to when you install air conditioning in the school and provide survivable temperature. Until then, I will wear whatever clothes give me the best chances of not fainting from overheating. That didn't go well. But yeah, basically it seems like a contradiction, but it's probably more that I just challenged the things that I thought should be challenged. But I wasn't a rebel just for the sake of rebelling. Now, I should note that while I did challenge teachers, I almost never challenged bullies. And I had plenty of those as a kid. I got walked all over by a whole bunch of people my own age, and I did almost nothing about that. This has caused me to collect a lot of pent-up anger and frustration to the point where it would sometimes overwhelm me. So now that I'm older, here's another little contradiction about my behavior. I'm scared of just about everything. I mean, seriously, I have more phobias than friends, and one of my biggest fears is human interaction. It took me decades to learn to come up to someone and talk to them, and I would still rather get lost for hours than ask for directions. Not because I'm too proud, but because I'm too scared. And yet, I challenge bullies. Not all the time, but a whole lot more than I used to when I was younger. I do still try to pick my battles, but I realized at some point that keeping my mouth shut creates so much regret and anxiety that it stays with me for years, never really fading and just piling up more pent-up anger onto the burning garbage dump that is my mind. So I decided that actually challenging the things that I find wrong or unfair or cruel might be the preferred course of action. And I realized that sometimes by doing so, I'm actually putting myself in physical danger, because when you're dealing with a bully or an abuser of any kind, there is always a chance that they will move from verbal attacks to physical attacks. So by challenging them, you are not improving your safety. For instance, I once challenged a very muscular ball of toxic masculinity who was manspreading across 2 seats on a crowded bus as an elderly lady was forced to stand beside him next to a seat that would have been vacant should he simply have moved his fucking knees together. So I politely suggested that he do just that. He yelled at me for 15 minutes. He told me that he would murder me, that he would turn me into ground meat and a patty, and that he would throw me out of a window. He was literally twice my size and extremely aggressive, and yet no part of me went, back the fuck out. No, I kept politely telling him that he was in the wrong, and of course the more I did, the angrier he became. And I think in part, I did this because, well, I realized that it was unlikely that he would actually attack me on a crowded bus. I mean, not even people like that are that stupid. Well, I mean, it could happen. It's not like it's never happened before, but I felt that I was relatively safe. But also, I feel like sometimes putting yourself in danger for a cause might actually be worth it. Afterward, my mother said, you do realize that he could have actually attacked you, right? And I was like, well, yeah, but you know, I feel like sometimes challenging an asshole is worth the risk. Even though half the time it actually probably isn't. This is how I'm gonna die, isn't it? And on the subject of fears and phobias, like I said, I'm afraid of pretty much everything. Here's a short list of just a few things that I'm afraid of. Children, railroad tracks, chandeliers, loud noises, human interaction, knives, boys, submerged parts of boats, piers, and other human-made objects. It's called submechanophobia, by the way. It's a thing, look it up. Power tools, drawers, glass, literally anything made of glass. So yeah, basically I'm afraid of just about everything, but guess what I'm not afraid of? Spiders, snakes, the dark, the supernatural, or death. You know, like all the things you're supposed to be afraid of. It's like the likes and fears sections on my character sheet got mixed up or something. Wait, that would imply that I like death. Well, I mean, I like it better than glass doors. When it comes to personal hygiene, I'd say I'm a pretty clean person. I sometimes shower twice a day. Not for very long though, I take relatively short showers, but I do have to shower after waking up and after I've been outside, because otherwise I feel gross and dirty. I wouldn't say that I'm obsessed with personal hygiene, but I do take it fairly seriously. But I sometimes don't wash my hair for several weeks, and I will sometimes only wash it when my eyes become inflamed because they get allergic to the oils and dirt in my own hair. My room is a mess, pretty much always. I sometimes think that one of these days I will trip and fall and break my neck trying to navigate the disaster zone. If I drop food on the floor, most of the time, I will eat it. I use the same chopsticks for years without ever washing them. I don't know how this makes sense. I would say that this maybe has something to do with like outside versus private. You know, like I shower because I don't want people to smell me, but in private it's fine to be gross just with myself. But that's not true, because I don't go outside much. And yet I still shower every day after waking up, and sometimes before going to bed, because I feel gross if I haven't showered all day, even as my hair is happily growing its own culture. It's like my brain has randomly decided that some things are gross and others aren't at random, and I have no idea why. When it comes to everyday little things, I'm kind of a pushover. Like, oh, let's go to the park. Sure, let's go to the park. Let's watch that movie. Sure, let's watch that movie. As long as I'm not morally or ethically opposed to something, I'm generally pretty okay with just letting the other person decide. But if it comes to any kind of creative process, I'm a complete control freak. I will fight for every word, every sound, every frame. And I do realize that nothing is perfect and sometimes constructive criticism can be useful, but if it's something like, oh, if you change this, it will improve the marketability of your work, I don't really handle that very well. Like, I want to be comfortable with something that I've created. I want it first and foremost to represent me, even if that means that I might sacrifice its potential popularity. I think that's one of the reasons why I started making YouTube videos, because on here you can create a complete piece of entertainment without anyone else having a say in the final decisions. And sure, no one really watches my videos because they're kind of shit, but at least I don't have to deal with a director telling me to wear makeup or an editor telling me to add a completely unnecessary sex scene to my novel, because then it will sell better. This is gonna be a creepy one. Much of my lifestyle and belief system is centered around doing as little harm as possible. I try not to hurt anyone without necessity. I try not to do things that are actively harmful. And yet, I often think about murdering people. I have dreams about viciously beating up people who piss me off. Now, I wouldn't actually do it in real life, but I imagine it. For instance, I live with my mother for financial and logistical reasons. I'm autistic, and among other things, this involves sensory issues. For me specifically, I have hypersensitivity to smell and sound. My mother is an extremely loud person. She watches her TV so loudly that I'm pretty sure the whole building can hear it. She hums, she sings, she eats with her mouth open, she shuffles her feet, she sings jingles from commercials. She repeats the same word 30 times in a row in different voices just because she thinks that's fun. She pours at least 5 different sprays onto herself every morning, and she actually used to smoke inside our relatively small shared apartment, and the only reason she stopped was because she developed a debilitating cough. I have been asking her for years to not do at least some of those things, but she doesn't care. So, sometimes I imagine taking a nice little syringe with a strong sedative and jamming it into her fucking neck so that it would be quiet for a little while. Now, I wouldn't actually do it, because I don't know where to get a strong sedative, but I imagine it in vivid detail. Is this a contradiction? I don't know. My mother, who is a very cruel and selfish person, not because of the things that I just mentioned, that's this other stuff, she actually often very proudly says that she would never imagine killing anyone because that's terrible. And yet, she has caused so much pain in her life. So, maybe my version of fucked up is actually the better option here. And to wrap this whole thing up, here is a contradiction that encompasses my entire being. I hate myself. I mean, I really do. I'm not just saying that as a joke. I actually fucking hate myself. And yet, I also believe myself to be a genius of great talent. And sometimes when I look at all the things in my life that I can't actually change, all I can think is that it's an ode to wasted potential. Because I feel like I do actually have some good talents that could have been put to good use but never will be because of circumstances beyond my control. Maybe it's that sometimes I look at myself from the outside and feel like all these things that I could have done are actually worth something. And then other times, I look at myself from the inside and feel like maybe it's for the best because I'm a worthless piece of shit that deserves nothing good in life, and surely the only reason that I failed is because I didn't try hard enough. Regardless, the part of me that hates me wins because my potential is still wasted and it's not very likely that anything will change anytime soon. So I guess hate wins. That's not a good message to end on. I mean, I'm sure someday things will be great. Thanks for watching.